"I don't believe it," muttered Gordon furiously. "What's Thomas got that an important engine like me hasn't? Tell me that. Gallivanting off to museums. Bah! He is old," said James. "If the Fat Controller says he can be a museum piece, why should we worry?" "It's not fair, though," grumbled Henry. For a chance like this, he wouldn't have minded being a museum piece himself. The jealous engines all ignored Thomas when they saw him at the junction. Thomas didn't care. He was too excited. "Why me?" Thomas asked Percy and Toby. "Fancy the National Railway Museum people at, where is it, York, wanting me to go there? They've never even seen me." "Yes, they have," said Percy. "On television," added Toby. "The Fat Controller told us about it." He and Percy wanted to go with Thomas, but they knew that someone had to stay and run the branch line while he was away. "How much longer till we go?" Thomas asked his driver every morning. "One day less than when you asked before," laughed his driver. "Anyone would think you wanted to be a museum piece." Thomas grinned. "Gordon, Henry and James are just jealous," he chuckled. "Who else is at this museum? Is Flying Scotsman there, or Duck's friend, City of Truro?" "We shall have to wait and see," said the fireman. "I'll be very surprised if there isn't someone there that you can remember from the old days." And that, of course, made Thomas more excited than ever. At last the day came. A large crowd came to the junction to see Thomas off, and the Fat Controller was there too. "Goodbye, Thomas," he said. "Enjoy yourself and be a credit to our railway." Everyone gave 3 cheers.
All aboard! Come on, everybody. Watch your step. Tickets, please. Tickets, come along. Hello there, my friends. Come on. This is Brakeman Dave to the engineer. We're ready to roll. To take her away.
And Thomas set off. They ran across the island and over the bridge leading to the other railway. It was a slow journey, but at last they reached a place Thomas's driver called Carnforth, where they rested for the night in a big shed. Next day they went on. At Skipton, Thomas stopped for a drink and to let a goods train overtake him. While they waited, it began to rain. Thomas had never felt happier. His fire was bright, and even the rain didn't depress him. Away we go, puffed Thomas happily. At last houses began to appear on either side of... Perhaps this is York, thought Thomas hopefully. It was. Soon they reached a large building with rails running into it. Thomas looked about him. He had arrived. In the workshop was a green engine like Flying Scotsman, but smaller. He was called Green Arrow. "My brothers and I were built to run fast goods trains," he said, "but we did it so well that they let us pull expresses too in the end. Now I'm the only one of my sort left." Green Arrow was so friendly that when Thomas was mended, he was sorry to leave him. But back at the great railway show, he was thrilled to see instead one of Stepney's brothers, Box Hill, an engine he remembered from the old days. Thomas was moved to a special position. "There's no doubt about it," said his driver. "You're a star attraction." One morning, Thomas's driver arrived in great excitement. "We're to give rides on the demonstration line," he said. Thomas was delighted. The 3 demonstration lines were different sizes. One was narrower than Thomas's, and the third was used by a very wide engine called Iron Duke. "This is broad gauge," he explained. "The Great Western Railway used it until about 100 years ago." Thomas wondered if Duck knew about broad gauge. It would be nice to tell him something about the Great Western, he thought. The engines had to take great care because of the many visitors. Thomas was anxious. Some people were not as careful as they should have been. Thomas had never seen such crowds. "We must watch out," he told his driver. "What would happen if a child got onto the line?" "Don't you worry, Thomas," replied the driver. "There are plenty of good, strong barriers, and we'll take care." But Thomas did worry. He was afraid that in an emergency he might not be able to stop soon enough. Next morning, Thomas felt better. The sun was shining and he was looking forward to talking to Iron Duke again. He chuntered happily backwards and forwards along the demonstration line all day. Then, nearly at closing time, it happened. Thomas saw something fly through the air and land on the rails in front of him. His driver saw it too. He put the brakes hard on. "Beep, beep, beep, beep," whistled Thomas in alarm. "I must stop, I must." Thomas shuddered to a halt, and a great cloud of steam wheeshed noisily from his cylinder cocks. But he couldn't stop before he hit the bundle. It burst. Sandwiches and crisps flew in all directions, while pop from a broken bottle fizzed over Thomas's wheels. In the crowd, a child, frightened by the steam, cried loudly. "I want to go home, Mummy, now!" screamed the child. "You noisy great engine!" shouted his mother, waving her fist at Thomas. "I'm going to see the manager." "Oh, dear," thought Thomas. "That's not the way to be a credit to the Fat Controller." "You did very well," comforted his driver. "Thank goodness it was only a lunch pack and not a child on the line." The fireman was inspecting Thomas. "Hey, look at this," he shouted. The driver went to see. "You damaged your brakes when you stopped suddenly," he told Thomas. "No more work until they're fixed, I'm afraid. Never mind. If the people here today have learned that engines can't stop at once, that's a good thing." Thomas hoped they had. The engines were excited. There were to be some special rail tours to the seaside, and no one knew which engine would be chosen to pull them. "It ought to be me," observed Mallard. "After all, that seaside place helped to pay for my repairs." The others thought someone else should have a chance. Thomas knew he would not be chosen, but he enjoyed listening to the others arguing. He was pleased in the end when it was decided to give the trips to Green Arrow. When Green Arrow returned from the first tour, he said he had never seen so many people. Soon there was talk of putting on extra trains, but this was not possible. "All we can do is add extra coaches," they said, "but then Green Arrow can't pull a train that heavy on his own." "Of course I can," he scoffed. "My brothers and I did during the war." "Can I help?" asked Thomas. The man in charge stared. "I don't see why not," he said. In the morning, Thomas's fireman arrived early. Thomas's fire was lit, and while the warmth crept through his boiler, the fireman made sure all his moving parts were well oiled. Behind, Green Arrow was being prepared too, and when they were both ready, they set off to find their coaches. The station platform was jammed with an admiring crowd, which didn't seem to get any smaller, even after a trainload of people were in their seats. Thomas was coupled in front. He was pleased. He liked to see where he was going. At the seaside station, Thomas was turned round so that he could go in front again. After a rest, the engine set off once more. A ruined abbey stood at a place where the line curved beside a river. The crowd had gathered to wave and cheer, but Thomas wasn't watching them. Looking ahead, he had seen something strange. "Beep, beep! Stop, stop!" he whistled in alarm. The train was heavy and hard to stop, but they managed it just in time. Now everyone was able to see that, in front of Thomas, the rail near the river was lower than the one on the other side. "The water has undermined the embankment," said the inspector. "I'll go to the signal box and sort things out." Buses came for the passengers, but it was late before the men decided it would be safe to use the other track. Together, the engines pushed the coaches back to a crossover. On his own, Thomas slowly crept past the landslip. Then, very carefully, Green Arrow pulled the empty coaches by, and together they brought the train back to York. A few days later, a party of important-looking people came into the museum. One was the man in charge, and behind him was the Fat Controller. "Oh dear," thought Thomas, "they've come to take me away for frightening that child." But the Fat Controller was smiling. The man in charge held up his hand for silence. "Thomas," said the man in charge, "your controller told us you are a really useful engine. He is right. For saving a nasty accident the other day, we have decided that you should become an honorary member of the National Railway Collection. This special plate will remind you of your visit to us. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 cheers for Thomas the Tank Engine! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! The noise nearly raised the roof. "Well done, Thomas," smiled the Fat Controller. "I knew you would be a credit to our railway." While Thomas was away at York, Percy looked after Annie and Clarabel and took most of Thomas's trains. Daisy ran the fast one, which connected with Gordon's Express at the junction. This made her feel very important. "It shows how the Fat Controller depends on me," she told the others. Toby was in charge of the goods trains and ran down to the harbour. He enjoyed that. His stone trains were dealt with by Mavis, the diesel belonging to the quarry company. "When is Thomas coming back?" asked Henry. "If he does," he added, "I shouldn't be surprised if he decides to stay as a museum piece. He's old enough." He puffed away, chortling at his own wit. Annie and Clarabel were most upset. Percy had to spend so much time comforting them that he was late leaving with his next train. At last, everything was ready. The engines and coaches were to go to the junction, and Daisy was to come last with a special train carrying the station masters, Mr. and Mrs. Kindly, and other important people. Just then, the signal alarm dropped and a familiar whistle sounded in the distance. Thomas came into the station. He looked tired, but he was smiling broadly. He carried the plaque which the National Railway Museum had given him. "Welcome home, Thomas," said the Fat Controller. "We are all proud of you and delighted to see you safely back, especially Annie and Clarabel." Everyone laughed and the Fat Controller held up his hand. "3 cheers," he called, "for Thomas, our famous tank engine. Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip,